15 billionaires who are now broke. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another exciting original video presented by alux.com. Today we're looking at 15 cautionary tales of billionaires who had it all, only to lose it through their own actions or forces beyond their control. They say easy come, easy go, but that shouldn't be the case when we're talking about billions of dollars, right? Unfortunately, the saying is all too real for a number of billionaires who've seen their wealth slip through their fingers, often quite suddenly. Before we give the former billionaires too much sympathy, though, we have to recognize that often the losses came as a direct result of illegal actions, including fraud, money laundering, and other financial crimes. It's a little difficult to maintain wealth when you're serving a 100-year prison sentence, like a couple of people on this list. Others lost it all due to financial recession and volatile stock markets. 2008 was definitely a rough year for many businessmen who found a spot on this list. While there's truly no hope for some of these former billionaires to get back on their feet, some are trying to pick up the pieces and rebuild their once massive fortunes. Kanye West said, "Having money isn't everything, not having money is." We have a feeling these former billionaires know exactly what he's talking about. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. Okay, let's dive into this one. Here's 15 billionaires who are now broke. Number 1. Sean Quinn. In 2008, Sean Quinn was the richest person in Ireland with an estimated net worth of $6 billion. Just 3 years later, he filed for bankruptcy. Quinn was the owner of the Quinn Group, which was very successful until the 2008 financial crisis. The Quinns were also hit hard with legal troubles on top of their financial struggle. Quinn hit rock bottom in 2012 when he was sentenced to 9 weeks in jail for not cooperating with the Irish Bank Resolution Corporation and for continued asset stripping. Quinn is now trying to rebuild and recently launched a new online gambling business. Number 2. Ike Batista. In 2002, Ike Batista had the distinction of being the world's 7th richest man with an estimated net worth of $30 billion. Unfortunately, in the following 2 years, the wealth of this Brazilian investor would rapidly decline. In fact, by 2013, his riches had dropped to $200 million and were steadily falling. By January 2014, his net worth was actually in the negative. His oil company, OGX, went bankrupt in October 2013, which stands as the largest corporate default in Latin American history. At one point, his yacht, Lamborghini, and several other cars were seized by Brazil's federal police. Currently, Batista is trying to rebuild and promises he will pay back all of his debts. Number 3. Björgulfur Gudmundsson. Björgulfur Gudmundsson was the second person from Iceland ever to become a billionaire, and his son was the first. He was the majority owner and chairman of the Icelandic bank Landsbanki, which was the second largest company in Iceland. However, in less than a year's time, he went from having a net worth of $1.1 billion to being about $675 million in debt, largely thanks to the global financial crisis of 2008. In 2015, the former billionaire was charged by a French court for having misled customers and mismanaged their investments. Number 4. Alan Stanford. Alan Stanford was listed on the Forbes 400 for the first and only time in 2008, with an estimated net worth of $2.2 billion, thanks to the success of his Houston, Texas-based company, the Stanford Financial Group. He was living it up by purchasing extravagant items, like private aircraft and luxury yachts, before he was arrested in June 2009 and convicted of running a massive Ponzi scheme. He was also accused of massive ongoing fraud involving $7 billion in certificates of deposits. He's currently serving a 110-year prison sentence. Number 5. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff is infamous for having cheated wealthy people out of $64.8 billion in the largest Ponzi scheme in history and the largest financial fraud ever in the United States. Madoff was arrested in 2008 and found guilty of 11 felonies, resulting in a 150-year prison sentence, most of which the now 80-year-old will never serve. At the time of his arrest, he had a net worth of $17.179 billion, all of which was forfeited to the U.S. government. Number 6. Elizabeth Holmes. In 2015, Elizabeth Holmes was the billionaire co-owner of Theranos, a so-called unicorn, which is a privately owned company valued at $1 billion or more. Theranos was positioned to revolutionize healthcare by requiring just a pinprick of blood for testing rather than a whole vial. Elizabeth was listed at the top of Forbes' list of America's self-made women in 2015 with a net worth of $4.5 billion. But less than a year later, her net worth plummeted all the way down to zero amidst allegations of inaccuracy of Theranos' blood tests and federal investigations into her business practices. Number 7. Vijay Mallya. At one point, Vijay Mallya was one of India's most successful businessmen, who was referred to as the King of Good Times. He was the chairman of United Spirits Limited, the largest liquor company in India, and he remains chairman of several other companies, but his businesses have been plagued by financial scandals and controversies ever since 2012. His net worth was $1.5 billion, but now banks are trying to collect approximately $1.4 billion for unpaid loans while he's being investigated for financial fraud and money laundering. He fled to the UK in 2016, and India is currently trying to extradite him so he can face charges for these financial crimes. Number 8. Adolf Merkel. Adolf Merkel was once one of Germany's richest men with a fortune of more than $12.8 billion. Like many people, he was hit hard by the financial recession of 2008. By May 2008, he had lost $3.6 billion. At the end of 2008, his holding company, Them Group, went $6 billion into debt. To try and make up some losses, Merkel engaged in some risky investments, many of which lost him even more money. With his fortune completely wiped out, Adolf tragically committed suicide in 2009 by throwing himself in front of a train. Number 9. Alberto Villar. Alberto Villar was the co-founder of the billion-dollar investment firm Amerindo. The stock market crash of 2000 wiped out a good amount of his billion-dollar fortune, and the rest was depleted due to his legal troubles. In 2008, he was convicted of money laundering, investment advisory fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, and securities fraud, and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Number 10. Manoj Bhargava. Manoj Bhargava is an Indian businessman who went from being a taxi driver to being a billionaire. He's the founder and CEO of Innovations Ventures LLC, which is best known for producing the 5-Hour Energy drink. The business gave him a net worth of $4 billion, but everything changed when reports came in of heart attacks being caused by the energy drink, which resulted in stocks plummeting in 2015. This took his net worth down to around $800 million, and then he pledged to give away 99% of his wealth to charity. If you want to find out about another billionaire who pledged to give away 99% of his wealth, click in the upper right-hand corner to check out our video of 15 things you didn't know about Mark Zuckerberg. Number 11. Olav Thon. Olav Thon is a billionaire who lost his riches in a different kind of way. He didn't lose it in 2008 in the financial crisis, or as a result of legal trouble. No, he willingly gave up his fortune to his charitable foundation. Olav was once the richest man in Norway, having earned about $6 billion through his real estate empire. In 2013, he decided to pass full ownership of the Olav Thon Group to his charitable foundation. Although he still controls the company, all profits now go toward promoting math, science, and entrepreneurship. However, he's not completely broke. He still has about $200 million left in the bank. Number 12. Femi Otedola. Femi Otedola was formerly a Nigerian billionaire with a net worth of $1.8 billion, but over the course of a year, from 2016 to 17, the majority of his wealth was wiped out when shares of the Lagos-based Fort Oil Company fell 83%. Otedola owns a 79% stake in the company. He lost even more wealth when the Nigerian currency dropped 37% against the dollar in that same time frame. Number 13. Huang Wenji. Huang Wenji is one of the latest billionaires whose wealth has been wiped out by volatile Hong Kong markets. Wenji and his wife own 75% of China Jiqing Holdings, a company that manufactures umbrellas. Shares in the business fell 95% in the matter of days mid-2017, costing Huang $1.9 billion. This leaves him with only a little over $100 million, which is broke by billionaire standards. Number 14. Patricia Klug. Patricia was once married to the richest man in the world, John W. Klug, who had $5 billion at the time he held the title in 1990. When they divorced, Patricia lost out on a great deal of the riches, coming away with $1 million a year in alimony. But she also received the gorgeous estate of Albemarle, with a 24,000 square foot home with a helipad, wine grotto, and stables in the Virginia countryside. Patricia decided to make the best of her situation by establishing the Klug Estate Winery and Vineyard. She then took out $65 million in loans, with the plan to build 24 multi-million-dollar houses. But then the U.S. housing crisis hit, and her plans failed spectacularly. She was forced to put up Albemarle for sale in 2009 for $100 million, but there were no buyers. The home was eventually foreclosed on for $15 million. She then had to sell almost all of her belongings and filed for bankruptcy after defaulting on her loans. Her vineyard was purchased by Donald Trump for a little more than $6 million after she put in over $40 million into the business. Number 15. Ramesh Chandra. At the height of his wealth, Indian businessman Ramesh Chandra was worth about $11 billion. He made the majority of his wealth through building middle-class homes, but when the 2008 recession hit, he lost 95% of his wealth in a very short time span. He never recovered his wealth and, in fact, was convicted along with his son in 2016 for cheating investors. He's currently serving a 3-year prison sentence. Okay, that list was brutal. It's hard to imagine people falling from such heights, but there is much to be learned from their experiences. Now that we've made it through the list, we'd like to know, do you feel sympathy for any of these billionaires, or did they have it coming? Let us know what you think in the comments. Still here? Here's a bonus fact to thank you for sticking around. As of the end of 2016, there were 2,397 billionaires in the world. 283 people lost their billionaire status in 2016, and 207 new billionaires were added to the list. Those 2,397 people represent $7.4 trillion of the world's wealth. Thank you for spending some time with us, A-Luxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.